5 to a Portuguese family. We're all mixed, but I speak the most of the Portuguese because I was raised with my grandparents. We're both Portuguese and Cape Verdean. Now, um, you know, they didn't discover my this. A lot of people in my family would say a lot of things. Oh, you should have brought him to the hospital earlier. He would have been cured. He wouldn't be as handicapped as he is right now. That's all irrelevant and BS. They found out when I was 11 months. Okay, I was dealing with Lamb Institute. I was dealing with uh, uh, therapy in school. I was supposed to start school. Actually, because of my end of the year birthday, they always put me ahead of everybody else, which I didn't like that because I needed to learn and not be pushed through the system. With I wanted to be with my peers. There should be a different kind of demographic where it's early 82 and late 81s together, and late 82 to early 83, stuff like that. But anyway, I was always a smart kid. I was talkative. I struggled with reading, math, and so forth. Um, I was in UCP for my first year only because the elementary school that they had was having elevator problems. Um, UCP said that, I mean, it was fun. I got to color, I got snacks, no homework, it was cool. But in reality, they told my family I belonged in a regular school to learn regular children's habits. Because the whole UCP thing, they try to group people with they feel with the same disabilities, which is not true, in one association, which is kind of wrong and kind of puts a stigma to it. I remember growing up watching He-Man, Thundercats, and stuff like that. It was hard growing up with my cousin Bobby because we're 2 years difference. He's early 84, I'm late 81, so that's 2 years in between, and we would argue for toys. I would feel bad that he had a dad and I didn't. And I wanted brothers and sisters, and that would come later. My grandparents were very good to me. I grew up good. And at certain points, my mom was very good till my stepfather started to take over. Growing up through school, I struggled in school because I had a lot of doctor's appointments and so forth. My grandfather I loved cartoons growing up and still do, and action figures. But I would watch more TV sitcoms and cartoons than I actually would play with toys. Video games came later. Um, but they would say that I would take toys and just leave them to collect dust. But I loved going out. I loved going to the movies. So I loved going to McDonald's. I think just for the Happy Meal toys. I think the 80s was the best decade, like my Uncle Val says. With the last, uh, he's the last generation to suffer. I struggled with weight as a kid. Kids made fun of me because of my color, because of my background, because I was so sensitive, because my grandmother raised me kind of sensitive. She said, if somebody hurts you, you let people No, and you know, and even through high school, I had some difficulties. That's where I honed my personality. And at the age of 11, I discovered wrestling and I loved it. And I bought every magazine, taped every show. I have a VHS collection back in Brooklyn that would probably choke Blockbuster. And I also have a DVD collection, Blu-ray, which I'm still collecting now. I love movies. I currently work at a movie theater. I've done a lot of jobs, but that was my only job that I'm actually working for a company. One of my best friends, I used to work for him, and he was also my baseball coach for United Spinal Wounded Warrior and the Wheelchair Sports Federation in the Boulevard building in um, Astoria, Queens. Growing up, I was always a roughhouse kid. I went from small to chunky, but I was always mobile, always going on the floor, always diving or stuff, always doing this. I had so many operations as a kid, it came to a point where my grandfather said enough. And then later on, as a teenager, I added more. I have 11 orthopedic surgeries. Unfortunately, I did another surgery that's not related, which was a hernia. Back in 1999, I decided that I was gonna do anything to make myself known and to make myself famous because being in a big family, you kind of stick out and people go like this and feel bad that you're in this situation. And in some points, I felt like family members thought they were better than me because of it. Um, I want to say I never gave up. I wrote a book at 18, even though certain people called it a little pamphlet or whatever. It was basically, God forbid, if I never got the chance to let my voice be heard, that at least somebody could keep record of all the good things I'd done so I could be remembered. After high school, I took a break to get my legs better and do some therapy because I didn't have time when I was in high school. My high school was far away in Brooklyn. It wasn't in Park Slope. It was like that Canarsie area, that Chestnut Avenue area. I was the first one in my high school to break the board with a piece of wood and do taekwondo. I didn't get respect from disabled sports because the the phys ed teacher was more concerned with who moved fast and who was stronger, which was wrong. I'm slow, but I'm very strong. I started lifting weights at the age of 12 to get my upper body right, to adjust myself in the chair, and to assist anybody by holding on to them by a transfer. Sometimes they use a machine to get me ready, but I'm able to stand up and transfer regularly if you're willing to be patient and take the time. I believe in the system, but the system is very flawed and it needs people like us to fix it. Back in '99, when I graduated, I did a speech in front of Madison Square Garden in front of 15,000 people. And when they announced the class of '99, I was looking around, and I said to myself, man, there's so much I didn't do. I never dated in school. I never really had that friend in school who it was always, if they saw me, they saw me. If they didn't, they didn't. A few kids would call me now and again, but it wasn't that friend thing. And I always wanted that. I never got to go to the prom. I never really dated. So during this little break that I took, which wasn't really a break because I was killing myself, was because I was doing a lot of rehab and a lot of exercise. I said to my Aunt Belinda on October of '99, I said, I want to be more sociable. That's my goal. If I have one friend, if I have one constant, that'll be great. Unfortunately, my grandparents were overprotective. Once I got in the house, my cutoff was it from the world unless I called somebody, and nobody was allowed in the house. This continued up until my 30s, which I am now, which is why I got my own place. That's another story in itself. So basically, we tried out AIDS and they didn't last because they were all women. I went to Rusk Institute, which was another hell and heaven at the same time. They finally got me an aide that was a man. I started going out and hitting my favorite spots, the malls, the video game places, the figure places, the comic book stores, the Barnes and Nobles, and I started meeting people. I would do something that would kind of be pathetic, but I would have my grandfather bring me down the steps of the stoop and let me wheel back and forth and see if I could see people passing by and I could say hi to them. Just to say I got out of the house and got a breath of fresh air, because sometimes it's it's like cabin fever. Most